President Trump in the hot seat after a phone call is released of him pressuring Georgia's top election official to overturn the election results. Now, in the audio first released by the Washington Post, the president chastises Brad Raffensperger while declaring that he won the election right here in Georgia. Take a listen.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes.
During the hour-long phone call, Trump took time to knock Democratic voting rights against activist Stacey Abrams. Joe Ripley is live right now outside the state capitol. And Joe, you spoke with Abrams this morning about that phone call and tomorrow's election.
That's right. Good afternoon, Francesca. Stacey Abrams telling me this phone call yesterday that was released, it's all a distraction. Her focus, despite being directly named by President Trump, is solely focused on tomorrow's runoff elections.
What she's done to this party is unbelievable, I tell you.
President Trump taking direct aim at voting rights activist Stacey Abrams in an hour-long recorded phone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
And I only ran against her once, and that was with a guy named Brian Kemp, and I beat her. And if I didn't run, Brian wouldn't have had even a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail.
In the call, first released by the Washington Post, the president tries to pressure Raffensperger into finding 12,000 votes and changing the count in Georgia. Trump takes credit for Kemp's victory in 2018 and called Kemp a disaster.
It's always a difficult and terrible thing when elected officials will lie in order to win. The average person understands that this is a last-ditch attempt to stay in power, but the real issue is who is going to look out for Georgia families, who's going to ensure that we have COVID relief, that we have jobs, that we have a real recovery, and that's why the Senate race is much more important than anything else.
In the call, the president brought up conspiracies that have been debunked by election officials, but Trump believes he won Georgia despite an initial count, hand audit, and machine recount confirming Joe Biden's victory. The president took his loss personally and warned it could impact voter turnout in the Senate runoffs.
Because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, you know, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president.
It is tempting to try to use moments in our history to predict the future. And what we've learned in the last 4 years is there's almost no correlation. But what we can do is control our own behavior.
More than 3 million Georgians have already voted early, either in person or absentee by mail, according to the Secretary of State's office. Abrams says the issues will ultimately matter to voters, not the phone call, and the candidate's final push to get voters to the polls.
Anyone who would spread misinformation to benefit themselves versus doing the hard work of benefiting Georgia voters does not deserve the respect of Georgia voters.
We have reached out to the governor's office to try and get a comment on yesterday's phone call between the president and the Secretary of State. We have yet to hear back from Governor Kemp's office.
Joe, thank you. And we've